What's going on, everybody? This is your man, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT, aka Dr. JT, and we are live once again with the season finale of season 5 of the Doc Chat. You know, we had an AI conversation a couple weeks ago, and it was so nice. Let's say, let's do it twice. And so we are back, and we have these great doctors plus one. And I'm telling you, that plus one is going to come here on fire tonight, and I am appreciative of all of them. We have the great Dr. Longino, we have the great Dr. Miller, and the great Dr. Roz. They are here on tonight on the Doc Chat to talk about, once again, AI. And I got to be honest with you folks, I had about 2 or 3 other doctors that were like, I want to be on the panel. I want to be in there. I said, nope, it's already tight, and we already got it right with these great doctors who want to come with their perspectives. Who knows? There could be another episode, but that would be for a different season. But tonight, it's these doctors right here, and they're going to come with it, and I'm so glad they're here. If you're checking us out, make sure you hit us up in the comments with your perspectives, with your thoughts, and with your knowledge, and let folks know that the Doc Chat is here one more time. Without further ado, Dr. Angel Longino, we appreciate you so much. Welcome to the Doc Chat. Let folks know a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. Glad to be a part of the conversation today. I am a former HR practitioner, but I have transferred over into career services in the higher ed sector. And I am an advocate for all things AI in terms of AI enablement and ethical learning strategies. So my focus centers on the principle of AI suggests, but humans decide. So glad to be here today.
We love that. We love that. And welcome back to our good friend, Dr. Michael Miller, all the way down there in that warm, beautiful Florida. Welcome in, my friend. Tell folks a little bit about yourself and the work you're doing with AI once again.
It's great to be here again and to see everyone and hear everyone and get all those clicks. It's great. Like you said, Dr. JT, I'm down in Florida here. And I do a lot of stuff on AI. Currently one of the projects I'm working on is looking at cults and seeing how these cults actually recruit and retain by using AI, and which is very interesting. So hopefully I'll talk a little bit more about that, and I'll just stop there.
We love that. We love that. And welcome back. And welcome back once again, Dr. Roz. He's a real scientist, y'all. That's my fraternity brother, Kappa Alpha Psi, all the way down there in the ATL, my brother. And look, we got Jamaica all on here, my guy. I'm telling you, the islands is represented. Dr. Roz, welcome back to the Doc Chat. Let folks a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with AI.
How you doing, brother JCT? My fellow panelists, I am Dr. Ross, that's RAS. I am really a scientist, so I'm a neurotrauma endocrinologist, a research scientist, but also a STEM educator down in the south side of Atlanta in College Park, Georgia. And so I do STEM education, and in the AI field, we try to bring the technologies and the partnerships that we have into the classroom and also bring the individuals from the classroom into the entrepreneurial space in many creative ways.
We love that. We love that. Here we go. And we appreciate everybody that's tuning in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. The future Dr. Carlos, we see you over there in the VA. We appreciate you tuning in, and we are glad that the Doc Chat is back as well. We appreciate you for tuning in on today. So without further ado, we're going to throw it to Dr. Longino. Tell us right now about the work that you do. You do some phenomenal work when it comes to career services and knowing what's happening in that era where it comes to AI. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do and why it's important for you to be a part of this conversation.
Well, I try to educate students and professionals, especially the alumni that comes across the campuses that I support, in regards to AI enablement, ethical learning strategy, but also to ensure and equip them to learn how to use it responsibly and ethically and understand the nuances that come with that. We even have discussed things like the digital divide, people being skeptic still about AI, using AI, how it affects them, environmentally, psychologically, all of that. So we have to break those things down and also focus on things as far as how that can help them transition as far as career readiness and workforce development. So that's just a little bit about what I do.
Okay, okay, okay. And Dr. Miller, I told you she was going to be right up your alley. Tell me how the work that Dr. Angel is doing really goes in line with a lot of work you're doing when it comes to those kind of HR things and hiring things and the preference of AI as well.
Yeah, thanks. I tell you, one thing that struck me that she said was about ethics, right? And how are you using this?
Yeah.
And this is a huge discussion right now.
Yeah.
You know, there's an article that just came out in 26. I think it was like January this year or some, actually April of this year. And it was by Carnegie Mellon. I guess this person was the lead professor on it. And it's interesting because they talk about AI assistance that reduces, right, persistent and hurts the independence performance, which is very, very interesting because what they actually found, right, is that although AI is great and it's wonderful and it improves all these great things that we do, that's only for the short term. When you start to think about the long term, it significantly worsens, right, without AI, and are more likely people just kind of like give up and they don't want to be bothered with it anymore. So it's very interesting that when you talk about, you know, ethics, how people are using it responsibly. Same thing. There's an article that I saw earlier this week about a school in New York and education system. And that was the same thing. They were looking at how kids go to the bathroom and stuff like that. And I thought that was kind of interesting, right? So we got to be careful how we're rolling this stuff out. It's coming out real fast, right? So, and I could even talk about more. Look at what's happening also in China. I don't know if you saw in China that they just put a ban, right? They want to pretty much, you know, dismiss AI taking over jobs. I mean, all this stuff is coming out so fast, and people are trying to say, slow down a little bit with this.
Yes, right.
So, but it's here. It's here.
It is here. It is here. And Dr. Roz, as you had Dr. Miller kind of go into the children aspect, tell me what AI is doing in your world when it comes to getting them prepared for something that is here, is truly here right now.
So I definitely want to go right into, like you're saying, and that's why I have my hat. I'm shamelessly promoting, but AICC, which is Artificial Intelligence Children's Companion. So what we have is basically children's books, right, out on Amazon now, but we'll go through a little more detail later. But we have actually children's books where we've used as a community while learning AI technology. We've actually created books, you know, from A to Z to teach kids about learning, but then we advanced from just doing your alphabets into STEM careers, right? Which was the next book. And then the third book that we came out with, we're talking about like virtues of friendship and things like that. So, and exploration. So what we try to use is the AI azimuth character and this universe that we've created to bring in technologies that into the classroom so the kids don't fear, right? Because I want Dr. Angel, sorry, to actually define what the digital divide is, because when she first spoke, she said that, but maybe not everyone that's going to listen to this know what that is, and that's an important point to talk about, right? But yeah, we want to introduce this technology, artificial intelligence, AGI, to the children, in a way, demystify it, right? So they can engage in it and see where it is useful, and then they can have this ethical understanding of digital, you know, hygiene and privacy and things like that. And then you can go into actual then what kind of careers and jobs you can actually do in the real world now and into the future, making it something tangible and real.
This is good. This is a good start here to the doc chat. Got Dr. Angel, Dr. Roz, and Dr. Michael, and we are jumping right into what is going on with AI. And I appreciate everybody for jumping in. We appreciate you. Reagan is here, and Reagan is all the way in Uganda. Look how the international touch of the doc chat is here on today. and we love it. And we loving the work that you're doing with STEM, helping the children over there. Make sure you connect with Dr. Rise over here. I'm telling you, the work is needed because our kids are getting something that they're not getting the foundation of. And you both are putting the foundation out there, and we appreciate that. And Dr. Diana, always showing love. We appreciate you. Always showing love to the doc chat. And so, yes, we definitely need to go into exactly what Dr. Rise was talking about, Dr. Angel. Let's talk about those gaps. Let's talk about that. What are you seeing when it comes to those different gaps, especially in the work that you're doing? And what are the definitions that we need to be making sure that our children and even our adults know as we're going more and more into AI?
Well, I'll first address what Dr. Ross stated about the digital divide. So, a lot of people don't understand that just because AI is available doesn't mean it's accessible. So, as AI is advancing, the access is not equal. So, we have the potential to democratize learning, but it can also deepen inequities if we're not intentional. So, some of the key tensions that I've seen is access to tools, again, access to training, and just basically access to ethical guidance, which we spoke to previously. So the real divide to me isn't just access, it is AI literacy and decision-making capability. Because if you don't have access to the tools, you don't have the opportunities to make those decisions or be taught how to use the AI guidance that you were provided. And so that's where some of the nonsense come into the play there.
Okay, okay. And I want to throw it to Dr. Miller because as we're talking about this knowledge that we are not getting, how is that hurting us, especially with the work that you're doing? Because you're already seeing if we're not ahead of the game in any of this, trying to get this knowledge before it gets out there, we're behind. So, how do we be able to keep up when we can see these digital divides are just there and they're rampant?
I mean, what I'm seeing is that this stuff is being thrown at our kids, and I don't think that the kids have a choice, right? If someone's pushing something to you, it's like, how do I stop it, right? And this was what this woman Lizzie Walsh, she discussed this, with the Department of Education in New York City, how they're just rolling this AI tool out, right? They're rolling out with no rules, no transparency, right? No adequate knowledge at all for the technology, right? And kids are getting this stuff and they're trying to figure it out while they're still trying to go to school. And I think that's a part of the problem that's happening. So this thing is shifting. AI is just shifting so quickly, right? When you first think about it, when it started, right? It was very basic, right? Then you got agentic AI, then you got generative AI. So you got all these different AIs that's just going so fast. And it's like people are like, let me get this first one down first before I can go to the next one, right? And again, I think people are it's just being bombarded. And Dr. Langino talked about this access stuff. I mean, I think, because it's technology, I think, people are throwing money to it. I'm in the development world, and people will throw money towards this type of stuff. So I'm seeing it, firsthand.
Yeah, and Dr. Rise, when you're looking at now the dangers of it being rolling out to our kids, and we appreciate the work that you do, in 5 years, if they get the wrong knowledge, and let me put some perspective in this, I've seen there, of course, there's schools that now, schools in Houston, schools in Chicago that are saying yeah, AI is going to be a part of it. But not only that, they're trying to create these apps and trying to create these different programs to go along with what they're teaching, not realizing how obsolete it's going to become within a year. So how important is it, especially the work you're doing, to make sure we get out the right foundation when it comes to AI?
So thinking about the right foundation is important, right? Because it's about what are you learning? We have to remember that AI, as we speak about it and as it's developing, it's a tool, right? Just like anything else. And so understanding how to learn or learning how to use tools is a skill, not specifically that tool, but how to use tools, right? So then as you come in contact with these new tools, these new apps, you know how to think about and integrate as it makes sense for you. The last time I spoke about the 90-day rule, right? Where you kind of, when something comes out, give it about 90 days to see, because that's what the investors are doing to see if they're going to invest, and that then determines how long this thing will truly be around in the then open market, right? So the other thing with this is, as we're talking about AI, we're getting to the space of, think about STEM, STEAM, and STREAM. So science, technology, engineering, math, right? How that have expanded to stream science, technology, research, engineering, arts, mathematics. In every single one of those, there's AI,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Think about that. If from finance, as someone mentioned, here's a health professional in health, right? Like even down to arts now. We know all around the board AI is being integrated one way or another. So understanding that, the awareness of how and where it's being placed in your current environment, right? Because you have to, it moves so fast that you have to actually, what I do personally is I have a few individuals that I follow that they made it their job to stay on top of this part of AI, what's going on in this world related to AI, and someone else over there done the same thing. And now my job, I made it, is to stay in tune with what they're doing, right? Because then that keeps me in tune with what this AI stuff is doing, because no one person can grasp all of what's happening at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we are rolling, folks. We appreciate the comments coming in. If you're checking us out, any thoughts you have about AI, please put them in the comments right now. Any questions you have about AI, please put them in the comments, because that's the thing we want to make sure, especially us as a people, that we have at least some kind of knowledge. And I said this in the show before, we missed the Google bubbles in the early 2000s. We missed the Bitcoin bubbles and all those things. We can't miss the AI bubble. We can't miss that as a people. And that's why we have these great doctors here that are talking about it. So I'm gonna go to Dr. Angel here. What is on your mind right now? The research that you've done, when I said you were going to be on the show, what are some important things about AI that people should know that you've done your research on that you were going to talk about on the show today?
Well, as far as the workforce readiness and career readiness, it's integrated into everything that you do. People applying for jobs, they're having tools that read resumes, and some of those AI chatbots are the first people that you speak to. And so a lot of people share their frustrations about being able to get through those ATS systems, and being able to, whether a recruiter can really tell if the AI resume is generated. And so I'm like, yes, it can. Some professionals and some, like nonprofits and smaller sectors, don't necessarily have those same tools. Again, that goes to the equity, for people to be able to go through the number of applicants as a larger corporation who may solely rely on those AI tools. So we talk about those things as well. We also talk about what careers may look like 5-10 years from now. People will have to be responsible for operating some of the tools and some of the apps. And so they have to be equipped to learn that, especially some of the STEM majors. So those are recurring conversations and some of the research that I'm delving into now as well.
Okay. Okay. And Dr. Miller, kind of what's on your mind when it comes to, this is what people need to know right now when it comes to AI?
You know what? Dr. Angel, that was like music to my ears. I just love what you said. Because that's sort of my area of research, some of the stuff that I've been doing, right? And looking at this to see, right, when these big companies, right, get a resume in front of them, right, can they discriminate, right, based on what they're seeing, right? How many, and I just did mine with African American males in higher education institution. I wanted to see how many of them were getting, higher jobs. And it seemed that there was a pattern based on what they told me. But again, my work is qualitative work, right? So it's sort of interesting, okay? Because you're coming from their lived experiences, their point of views. And there are articles out there that says, well, you really shouldn't be basing AI, research on qualitative research, right? So it goes hand in hand. But I like exactly what you said. But the larger companies can afford these tools, right? But the smaller
Right.
companies, they certainly cannot afford them. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Dr. Roz, what is something when it comes to AI that you feel like people need to know right now that's direly important?
Where we're going, right? And where we're going is another part of where we're at right now is technology, right? As we talk about AI, um, I have here BCI, brain computer interface. This is a device, right? This you can get for between $500, right? For a device like this where you can actually now actively train your brain, right? You can learn more about your personal brain, right? But also how the brain works. But it comes with software and where you can actually, whether it's memory you want to improve, whether spatial acuity, mental flexibility, different type of cognitive functions that come with games and gamification. So mixing the AI technology where you have what's called a closed loop, meaning that you have information and input that's going to the device, but then there's information going back from the device to the brain back and forth, right? You have a closed loop now, which you can actually have learning in. And this is where it becomes important because you can utilize this in the space where I'm actually trained in, which is neurotrauma. So think about brain trauma. So in that space, from stroke to seizures to ALS, Parkinson's disease. There's so many things we can talk about that AI can be beneficial. That's why why I run around in the K through 12 space, putting up all the cautions and alarms, I still bring the technologies that I can and the partnerships to the forefront because it's imperative that we do understand this more than from a consumer standpoint, right? We have to be part of the builders, of the creators of that future, well, current and future technology, like these BCI devices and other things. We're introducing kids to 3D printing, right? So going from now using these books, and we talk about accessibility, so we have like these books, right? But what we've done is start student clubs at schools where now what they're doing is going through getting access to the book where they can actually learn, and we're teaching them with free apps to be able to reproduce the characters that from the book, right? And not only that, where now they have something digital that they've created from something digital, but then that's where we go into talking about business, finances. You see, I have a hat on Azimuth 3, just as the book, meaning we can then show them how do you take your idea and concept of, introducing children and demystifying AI technology into a usable product that you can use in school, but also as even fashion and as a business, right? So being able to show the kids all of these different levels. So when it gets to understanding, we're in the space of now your brain data, your personal data, your health data, how important it is to protect that and be a part of the industry that is working to implement that in your lives.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And we're going to keep the show rolling because we're getting great comments here in the comment section. As this particular comment, I want to make sure we jump on. Has AI done more good than harm? And as we go into this particular question here, what really is it? What problems is it solving? Is it solving problems? And I think that's the question I wanted to throw now to Dr. Angel as we're looking at, is AI really helping us? Because as we're seeing the layoffs happen with individuals who are losing their jobs because AI is taking over, it's cutting budgets because, hey, I don't have to pay this person this money when I can have it run through the computers, some of these processes. Is AI truly doing more harm than good, or is it doing more good than harm?
Well, I actually think it's duplicitous. It's doing both. It's just based on your perspective. So from an environmental perspective, a lot of people can say, yes, definitely is doing harm because it's infecting the environment in some ways. And in other ways, as far as learning, um, again, access capabilities, being able to compete in ways that we weren't able to compete before, be able to do workflows in the ways that we weren't able to do as swiftly before, that has been beneficial in some ways. So again, it just depends on your individual perspective and your lens.
Good. And Dr. Miller, same question. Is AI doing more harm than good or more good than harm, especially right now when we're trying to have it solve specific problems, but is it really solving those
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a combination of both, I will tell you. And again, I'll put the lens from a fundraiser because that's like my day job. And I will tell you, according to guys like Nathan Chappell and Scott Rosencrantz in their book, right, Nonprofit AI, a comprehensive guide to implementing artificial intelligence for social good. You know, they talk about this revolution, right? And how this revolution is shifting. It's a pivotal shift, right? And so with that happen, they say that, look, it's great for fundraising. It's helping fundraising. It's making us, for example, if I have to write a thank you letter, that thank you letter is coming out real polished and nice, and it's getting out within, standard is what, 48 hours. So I'm getting that out really within that 48 hours time. So it's making me more efficient, right? So in that sense, it's really good, right? But then the other stuff that I talk about, some of the concerns, right? Data privacy is a concern, right? Algorithmic bias, and this is what I've written about this before, right? Whether it's discriminating against, a marginalized group or something like that. And so I would say really and truly there's a combination of both. And it's probably up to the individual, right? How you want to use it, whether you want to use it responsibly or not.
good? That's good. And Dr. Roz, same question. Is AI doing more harm than good or more good than harm?
I think that's a regional question. So depending on your locale and not just physical, right? But even financial, social, and other ways, I think that more impacts if it's having a positive or a negative impact in your life as an individual, right? It really depends on where you stand at that intersection because for me, I'm a conspiracy theory buff. I run with all the conspiracy theories, right? But at the same time, I read a lot of science and a lot of, real articles, real papers and things that's happening. So to kind of
Right.
balance, I like to be able to think way out, but also bring it back to some sort of reality. And I say that to say that, we can be on extremes of either of these ends, and then I think that it ends up being negative. But there is a sweet spot in the middle where not overusing and using it properly, where you have still like human in the loop at the right points and you're utilizing the AI technology in the right way. For instance, just thinking in academia and how do we test, right? So there's two pieces that we don't talk about a lot that is very important, right? And since I'm not a military man, I'm not going to go there, but thinking about AI and giving AI the right to harm individuals, human beings, right? In the name of protection. That's a whole conversation, but I'll cover the medical space, right? We have AI technologies now that can go inside your bloodstream, inside your body, and where medicines now are a mixture, right, of technology and biology. Right? So we have a lot more that we need to be concerned about as an individual. And so understanding if it's going to have a positive or a negative impact is understanding where it's impacting your life and where you stand.
I love that you brought that up, the healthcare piece, and Dr. Diana, who works at the healthcare, brought this up as well. It's something to where, yeah, it could help, but it don't need to do everything. And I think that's where we're getting to the dangerous point in place to where sometimes we're looking to let AI go a little bit too far. And I think that's where I want to go next, Dr. Angel. Where is AI going? Like, especially you as a Black woman, what do you see happening? And what should, even as a representative of the Black woman delegation, what should Black women know in terms of when it comes to AI and where it's going?
Well, AI is rapidly expanding, so I can't really say where it's going. We're learning on a daily basis. So I can't give a definitive answer to that. But I will say, as a Black woman, I think our best position is to know how to use the tools, know what good and harm the tools are doing in the world. As Dr. Roz said before, that can be, locally, regionally, nationally, internationally. So we need to be abreast of it, try to read as much as you can, and try to lend your voice to the space, because your voice matters. So if you're not in the rooms to discuss it, to say the positives and negatives, what you object to, what you advocate for, then that's where some of the other issues can lie. And again, that ties back into the ethics and making sure that we're in the room to make sure that we're giving our input on how it should be used, how it should be executed, when it should be used.
Okay. And I want to give a little bit more. Where can somebody start? Just basic foundation AI. Say I know absolutely nothing about what's going on. Where can I start as a person?
Well, there's a lot of organizations and universities that offer free courses, especially if they're just getting into the generative AI space. There's several. I mean, you can run a Google search and find those. I know I've seen a lot of different posts that come across LinkedIn. A lot of people are talking about the Harvard courses because they have things on YouTube. And I know for myself, I first learned about a few things and took a few classes when I wanted to get a little bit more acclimated. I went to the University of North Florida. I also looked at some things with Databricks and what Microsoft offered. So, I mean, it's a range of options. It's just what your preference is and what caters best to your learning style.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And Dr. Miller, kind of the same questions. Where is it going, and where can somebody start if they just want to start to know something about AI?
I always start at the library. I mean, as crazy as this is, right? You can go to the library, and the library has tools on this stuff. They have books on this stuff, right? You can ask the librarian; they'll point you in the right direction. But again, I think a lot of people are afraid, right? Because it is coming fast, and and some people just don't want to do it, right? I think back, right? Like, my mom, bless her heart, my mom passed away in 2016, and she still had a rotary phone, right? One of those dial rotary phone. Okay, so again, think about technology, right? I mean, she didn't want to advance, and so that's what it is with a lot of people. And so it's baby steps. So you have to teach them slowly that, hey, it's going to be okay. Take a look at it, right? There's some good to it, there's some bad to it. How does it impact your life? How can you use it effectively to make certain tasks easier for you, right? Can it help you, find a flight? You want to go on vacation? Can it help you with that, right? Can it help you, write a nice thank you letter? Right? Can it help you with appointments? Right? We all use that, right? GPS, it helps you with direction, right? So once you start to think about those things little by little, you just introduce it slowly to folks.
Good. That's good. And Dr. Rise, kind of your thoughts on, where is AI going, and also where can somebody start just to get a little bit of knowledge and foundation on what AI is?
So, my best guess is going where we take it, meaning, um, depending on our mindset and our motivation and willingness to engage and learn, it's gonna slip away from us, or we're gonna be along there for the ride and be a part of where the world, the physical world we live in is going, because technology is out in the physical world, it's in the social world now. And you notice that even if you say I'm anti-AI, if you have a phone, there's so much on there that you could be using an app
Don't even know.
religiously for years, months, and then one day you wake up and they've integrated AI, and now you're interacting with AI unwillingly because it's part of something that's already a core of what you do. So how do you deal with that? Is understanding that is a possibility. That's what's happening. So to really education is the key to everything. So I would say, along with what the good doctor said, I would add in find a person who is using AI. Right? That's what the first thing I was find someone who's using AI, right? That's how I would start. And then you would start to learn about groups, right? And then being able to then work your way and see, okay, this is my speed or here, this is what I'm interested in. Like Dr. Miller said, you're choosing for something that's important to you. It can be something small, but that you can utilize it for, right? So now you have purpose, because that's the biggest thing between the AI and human intelligence. At the end of the day, this stuff needs us because we are the data, right?
Right.
But we also are the purpose. We give it purpose.
Mm, that's good. That's good right there. We got Dr. Angel, Dr. Roz, and Dr. Michael here, folks, on the doc chat as we're talking about AI, and we're going deep, and we're gonna go a little bit deeper because I want to talk about this purpose part. I want to talk about that. And Dr. Angel, how you're using it, how you're utilizing it. And what we like to do, of course, on the doc chat is talk about solution. What great tool solution can AI help with somebody who needs it right now? That you would be like, look, if you can learn this like I've learned it, it's going to help you in a big, big way. What solutions do you have for people to be able to utilize AI to be able to help them with their purpose?
Try and fail. Seriously, you have to try and fail, because the only way you can get over any reservations you have is to try it, to explore it. And like the good doctors have already said, read about it, talk to someone who uses AI. And a part of that is trying and failing. You may receive accurate information, you may receive misinformation. So, what do you do with that? How do you move forward with it?
Mm,
And then I also encourage people to look at how AI is used across cultures. I'm a big advocate for cultural intelligence as well.
okay.
So AI may be looked at and perceived differently based on the person's culture, what they have access to, what laws and ethics are in place there. So all of that is all encompassing. So that's just a good place to start. Try and fail, learn what's out there.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And purpose for you, Dr. Miller, as you're looking at AI, what is something somebody could utilize that you have started to master that you feel like this could be a huge help for somebody who's looking for AI to help them as they're moving forward?
You know, it, I'll say one word: shortcut. Right? Everyone always likes shortcuts. Right? And so, if you think that AI can help you get from point A to point B relatively quickly, I think people will take that route, which is the shortcut. They'll take that route more so than ever. So I think what I'm trying to say is I believe that people need to really look at what's beneficial to them. I mean, in their practical life, right? How is it impacting your day-to-day life? How is it making that life easier for you? And I think once people figure that out, they will get more confident and comfortable with this whole AI, and they'll move forward and understand it a little bit better. Look, I had trouble with it at first, to be quite honest with you. I was afraid of it, right? And then after I started to use it, I was like, it's enhancing, certain things that I'm doing. So just, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I like that the enhancement part of what you're doing. That's a big thing. Big, big thing. And Dr. Rise, as we're looking at purpose, what is something that you're utilizing when it comes to AI that you feel like, man, if somebody else used this, I think it'll help them in a big, big way?
Um, so I think it's just like the Dr. Angel said about trying and failing. Because if I just name stuff, I'm just gonna name things that I like because I use it frequently. But what it is again is like Dr. Miller said, is finding the purpose in it, right? Like, what do you do often, right? Whether that's your email, right, person, or you're using a certain type of app already, right? Well, you can see what is the version of that has AI, and kind of spend your time investigating that. So my thing would say is don't my biggest thing is don't do it in a silo. That's the
Mm.
worst thing you can do, because as we more humanize, personify the technology, that's going to be a very unhealthy place to be in. And we're seeing some of that now, with even some of the younger and older folks as they interact with this conversational AI, right? AI that seems like it's actually a person, and so it's giving you this information. But again, this is just probabilistic mathematics, and we have to remember that we're just using that tool to be in with language, right? And so it's not really a person coming from a person, and we have to always be aware of that uncanny valley. And I think the only way to do that is to not work in a silo.
That's good. That's good right there. And I want to keep this show rolling with this. I want to put y'all on the spot. You are all CEOs of an AI corporation right now. You are running it. It is your show, and you're trying to let people know about what AI is and why it's important to the culture. And we're saying our culture as Black people, because from all of you, I've heard the same thing. People are scared of it. It's flat. It's foul fact. So, what kind of motivation can you give when it comes to Black people, our culture, in being able to say, look, I run this company, AI company, and this is something I want to tell you that's going to help ease the fears that you have. Dr. Angel, putting you on the spot, what would you tell?
Well, I guess one of the main things I would say is AI is not the future. How we choose to use AI is. And so, if we don't learn how to use it intentionally, design it intentionally, keep it human centered, keep ethics and ethical responsibility at the core, making sure it's inclusive use. I mean, we risk building systems that scale it efficiently, but diminishes humanity. So we have to be at the forefront of learning how to use it.
Like that. We like that. And Dr. Miller, to ease the fears, especially of us as Black people, as a culture, what would you tell our people about AI?
So if I'm the CEO, I'm just saying you got to embrace change,
Mm.
right? Change is good. And I think, again, I go back to people are afraid, but I think you realize once you put your feet in that water, it's not that bad. People will, whoa, whoa, it's too cold. No, no, get in there. Just dive in there. That's why I always say dive in, you don't feel it, right? Just dive in and you just do it. And I think, you know, yeah, you just have to embrace it. You really and truly have to internally say, I can do this. We're going to learn it. We're going to move on.
Love that. We
Yeah.
love that. And Dr. Rod, your thoughts. CEO, what would you say to ease the fears of Black
Well, I would pose a thought question, actually, all right, or a thought exercise to them.
people? Okay.
So, as we know, again, there's this fear and this apprehension to AI technology, right? But there's also, if you work in the AI space, they say garbage in, garbage out, right? Meaning you're feeding this information into it, and then it's producing and being what it is to then give you an output. So if we're saying we don't trust this thing, don't use our data, how are we going to be integrated in whatever it's processing and benefit from there if we're not a part of that study population, meaning using the AI technology, because that's why it's freely available now and all these kind of things, is because it needs that information and this human engagement so it can again respond to us better as we cater it to. So then I ask you, we talked about, or you think about clinical trials from back in the days where they excluded females, they excluded minorities, right? So then a lot of the drugs and medicines, when they go out into the community, they go beyond the failing or passing percentages because it wasn't made for the community, it's made for this homogenous group,
Mm.
right? So I say the same thing with AI. If we don't free up ourselves to engage responsibly, right? Engage with the AI so it has that interaction and this information, this data, we have to be a part of that. So then whatever it creates, we are part of this creation and not just impacted by it.
Indeed, indeed. And you all also jumped into the fact that it's here and it's not something that we could sit here and be like, well, I really don't want to engage in it because regardless if you don't, others are. And I think that's the next question I want to go in and Dr. Angel talk about it. And Dr. Miller brought up, what's going on in China. While China's saying, oh, we're not going to fire people to let AI take over jobs. The United States is saying 80,000 people cut, 100,000 people here cut. So when we're looking at the culture that way, which is the right way? What should folks be doing? And if you have somebody that just got laid off because of AI, what would you tell them?
Well, that's kind of a hard conversation because what can you do to comfort someone who's lost their job because of a machine or a tool? So, I mean, that's hard. But I really look at it as if you're in a position to keep your job because you know how to use AI, then that's another way that you can safeguard yourself to some degree. I mean, because at the end of the day, the company or the organization is going to make the decision. And even people in HR may not always agree with the decision and may be like, hey, that might not be a good look. It may help, hurt our reputation. But the fact of the matter is the people who own the companies make these decisions. But again, I always kind of say AI doesn't replace people. People who don't know how to use AI get replaced.
Yeah, great point.
And Dr. Miller, kind of your thoughts as, we brought up, of course, China, and they're saying, nope, we're not getting rid of people because of it. But United States is like, oh, we'll do it in a heartbeat. What would you say to those individuals that might be getting laid off and the practices that are happening in both countries?
You got to adapt, right? And I think, for most folks who are not willing to look at AI and say that it is here, and how do I manipulate it, right, to some degree, right, that you can outsmart this computer, right, so that this computer is not coming in and taking your job. And so I think if people find themselves in that position, they now have to go back to the drawing board and be creative, I think. But as Dr. Longino just indicated, it's a very tough conversation. And going, with the United States and China, it's two extremes, right? Where is the middle ground for that? Both are at the opposite spectrum. And so we have to find some middle ground here because, again, this thing is barreling and it's coming in real fast. And so until we find that middle ground, hard conversations are going to be had.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And Dr. Rise, kind of your thoughts on, those two extremes. And what would you tell these individuals that unfortunately are losing their jobs because of it? They still need to work. They still need to eat. So what would you tell them kind of moving forward?
Yeah, this is a hard one, right? Because again, as was first mentioned, what do you tell someone who has lost their way of providing? right? It's not much you can say in the immediate, but what I would say is learn and be patient, right? Meaning learn what this means for you in your situation. What do you have access to? What are you willing to do? Right? And in learning and adapting to the situation. Um, with that, also the patient part is this because there's a whole there's a many sides, but there's two other sides to this whole thing that we're not talking about, right? And one is the actual AI technology itself, what that's built on, the finance around that, where we are now, projections, and where we really going, right? We talk about booms, bubbles, and bursts and things like that. I'm speaking in short here, but you guys know where I'm going. As far as the technology, where it's at now, where can it scale to, and this kind of thing, right? We have all of that we need to consider, but at the real time, there's this the conversation around the finance and money, big business. So in big business, what's happening right now is you talk about people losing their jobs or at mass amounts. That's kind of on the lag of what's really happening right now is the way they've implemented the premature AI, the hundreds of millions of dollars it cost them to put this stuff in, it's costing them now to take out and having to hire back human beings,
Yeah.
right? Because of the research that Dr. Miller mentioned earlier and the lack of training that Dr. Longino spoke about before, right? Not having that access in these things. So they have to resort back to now the human capital, right? And that's where we are in real time and where business make that decision. Like we're losing hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars from making this investment. And it's actually when you start to look at the psychology and the mental health and the actual productivity and percentage of the math is not mathing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
And we're talking about AI being a tool and AI not being the source. That is the bottom line of this conversation, definitely today. And we appreciate these amazing doctors. As you see, an hour flies by when you're having fun. And just these thoughts, these insights, I mean, just all the knowledge, we appreciate them so much. And so we're going to give to Dr. Angel Longino. Let folks know where they can find you. Thank you for being on the Doc Chat and give us your final thoughts you have about AI that people should know about.
Well, you can find me here on LinkedIn. Just type my name in or type in Dr. A.S. Longino. You should be able to find me. But again, ethical learning when it comes to AI enablement. You have to learn how to use it, learn how to use it well, and learn how to use it ethically and responsibly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Angel Longino, we appreciate you so much. Make sure you connect with her because the work that she does is powerful, especially when it comes to AI and careers. You want to make sure you are on top of what she's putting out there because it is fire. And I appreciate you so much for being here on the Doc Chat. We appreciate you, Doc. We appreciate you.
Glad to be here.
Dr. Michael Miller, where folks can find you and final thoughts you have about AI. Thank you for coming back and doing this second segment and appreciate all the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you for having me, and I want to thank my two colleagues here that we had a great discussion. I really appreciate that, so thank you. You guys sort of challenged me tonight, actually. I had to think tonight. I was like, whoa. And so I guess for me, you can always find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm also on X, I think. I don't even know, but I am with my name, Michael O. Miller, by the way. So that's because my name is so common. But the thing when I think about AI and my final thoughts here tonight is, professional development. We all do it in our careers, right? And if we don't do it, we're left behind. And so a big part of investing in yourself, go take that course from that community college, growth, build yourself. So that's going to help you to be in this tidal wave of AI that's coming down the road. So,
Dr. Michael Miller, folks. We appreciate you so much being on the Doc Chat once again. We appreciate you, my brother. And Dr. Roz, Dr. Geddes, final thoughts and where folks can find you. Tell folks a little more about AI to let them go to the finish line.
First of all, you found me on the south side of Atlanta, man, College Park, Georgia, USA.
Good,
No,
good.
but yeah, I'm running around on LinkedIn, of course, doing that thing here. I hit the social media here and there, but only when we have something to say, some event in the public and stuff like that. But yeah, running around the schools and universities here in Georgia, trying to put together some educational pipelines and curriculums and give access to our community so individuals could change their lives with education like I've done. Um, what else? That's it. I want you to know that's not it. The other thing is, I want to thank you, Dr. Brother JCT, for a wonderful season and always you make me spoiled, man. I ask for something, you give it to me. We have the second episode here and I really appreciate it, and anytime anything you need, my brother, I'm here for you.
We appreciate that. That is Dr. Roz, Dr. Geddes. We appreciate you so much. And that is a wrap, folks, on season 5 of the Doc Chat. We've gotten awards. We've gotten recognized by the United Nations. We have had over 16 different episodes in 2 months of the season. We have brought on over 30 doctors who have come on during our season 5, and we're continuing to grow more and more. And one of the greatest things is when I get those messages on LinkedIn and folks say, Dr. JT, I see the Doc Chat and it is blessing me. And to meet people that say, I started my doctoral journey because of the Doc Chat. That is what this is about, folks. We want doctors to go and be great after they get their doctorate done. But we also want folks to be like, man, I saw that show called the Doc Chat and I think I can go get a doctorate degree. And all these doctors here will let you know that, yes, you can. So I appreciate it. Hey, man, we're always praying about that next season. We always start in March because we know in the fall y'all be watching football and y'all will not watch us. So we'll be back next March. And until then, folks, make sure you know that the Doc Chat is here. We're about to celebrate all of the great doctors who are graduating with doctorate degrees. Congratulations. We all been there. We know how hard it is, but we're just glad you are getting there. And we want to celebrate those individuals here in the month of May. God bless all the mothers that's coming up and the fathers coming up in June. All the great things in the summer. Be safe and know that the Doc Chat is always here. We have great groups on LinkedIn that support one another. We support each other through jobs, postdocs, book writings, all kind of events. We want doctors to get the support they need because the work doesn't start when you get the doctorate degree. It truly starts after you get the doctorate degree. So until next time, folks, this is the Doc Chat. I am your host, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT, aka Dr. JT. And I thank you all so much for the opportunity once again. And until next time, folks, we say